Welcome, faithful listeners, to another Brew Ink Podcast.
Greetings, faithful listeners. We are back. Brew Ink Podcast is back. Hey, everybody.
Yay. How's it going? Episode 4. We made it.
Episode 4. We've made it to episode 4. 2 months in, guys.
Yeah. Everyone's had a chance to write.
That's on time. Everybody has
man.
To,
They tried to tell us we're too young. They tried to tell us that we wouldn't make it. I'm trying to think of all the 80s songs, you know. But we're back, and it's Evie's week. And we are very excited that we get to mess with the introvert this week. I am married to an introvert, so I am master class at messing with one. So I'm very looking forward to this. And so we're gonna just
talk about what we're breaking the top.
What are we drinking right now?
Yeah, what we're drinking. We've got a Guinness Extra Stout, which was one of my favorite beers. You know, back in college. Nice dark. It's got a nice malty kind of.
I like to chew my beer.
That's
exactly. With no hops.
And then I found out it's really light on the ABV scale, and I became an ABV snob because I like getting more for my buck, you know.
Alcohol by volume.
Yeah, alcohol by volume.
That's
ABV.
why I stick with moonshine.
Exactly, which is what Evie brought for us tonight, and I told her that was very appropriate since the story that she'll be reading to us later. You'll see how that kind of comes into play. So we've also have an apple pie 50 proof moonshine Smith Creek. It goes down smooth and nice.
Barney Fife is going to be by later to
sample it.
Sample it. No, he's going to bust the cell. I'm also double fisting it tonight. I've had quite the busy weekend the last few days. I was telling the guys before the show. So I also have some coffee.
Oh yes.
At 8:00 at night, which my wife was like,
What
are you doing?
Hey, Phoenix Roasters coffee is good at any time.
Amen, brother. Amen. And so we're going to just kind of get a quick update as we go around and talk to people. So we're going to start with Stephen. Like, give us just a 30-second update about what's going on with you.
I've been taking a foray into all the social media endeavors. I have now started an Instagram page for us and a Twitter page for us. So you can find us now on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a website. And of course, it's always Brew Ink. So, search for us on Instagram, follow us, give us a like, give us a shout out.
Tell us what's going on with writing-wise with you. Where are you in your writing?
I'm in 2 different places now. I'm in where I'm at, like chapter 6, I started adding some scenes in there that needed to be in there to develop characters. And then I've also gone back to chapter 1 because I had done some reading out loud of those initial chapters and trying to polish those off a little bit, and it's been good. I like it because I'm getting to do the things that I had in the back of my mind for the longest time. I'm now actually getting to write those out and play those out, and it's brought the editing part a little slower, but at the same time, I feel like I'm getting some good meat in there that it needed to be in there.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, what's going on with you, Bill? How are you doing?
I have been writing pitches and dealing with internet troubles all week.
No.
Finding out that as a writer, some of my pitches that I didn't get responses on before didn't get responses for a reason. My email has been problematic, and I'm fixing that. But in the process of fixing that, I've also been writing a lot of pitches in the last couple of weeks. Which is really interesting because looking back at the pitches I wrote after my first novel 2 years ago, I see some significant improvement in them now.
Oh, nice.
I'm seeing past that, but I can't write it like that. I'm seeing it I have more experience and therefore I can relate on this level to the agents. I can talk to them on this level. I also have a lot more confidence. And that makes a big difference over time.
Yeah.
And it feels a lot better. I also, and I'll throw this one out there and see if my potential agents are listening. I also found a pitch where I accidentally left a previous agent's name in the pitch when I was pitching it to another agent.
Oh my goodness.
Oops. Dear Miss instead of Dear Mister.
Oh.
Oops. I'm sure that went over really well, and I'm sure that he'll remember when I send him my new pitch.
You'd be like, you're the one that called me Miss.
And hello, you can open with that when you call me. You called me Miss, if you want. But anyway, so there are mistakes that you make, especially when you're stressing a lot over this stuff. You're so focused on what you're saying that you forget to address it to the right person.
Yeah.
And networking becomes a huge part of writing after you get that first draft, second draft under your belt, and you start just trying to reach out and send out those letters.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it would be nice to actually get out of the office a little bit more and actually meet people. But most of them are introverts too, so that makes it hard. So,
was there anything else you said you were going to share? Something else?
No, I think not tonight. Maybe some
Oh
other
man.
Oh no, okay, I will. Okay,
It's
I watched a good movie.
Like saying, wait. It's like saying I've got the best joke.
and
Okay, tell it to me, and then they go, not right now.
Okay. I don't have more time because I'm doing this other stuff. I'm actually working late at night a lot. Okay, but yesterday I had an opportunity to take some time with my family and watch a movie, and we watched Baby Driver.
Oh, I heard that was really
heard
good.
it's good.
Haven't seen it.
I am telling you, as far as the story goes, that story drags you in and keeps you in. It is an excellent story. Even if it had been shot by a bunch of college students instead of Hollywood, it still would have been a good story. It was an excellent story. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna push that one on you. I'm gonna say you guys go see it or grab it when you get a chance. It's an excellent movie.
Check it out.
I have heard it was really good.
Yeah, I've only heard positive stuff about that movie.
And that's good to recognize as we're writers to say, hey, in this movie, it kept me in. Like maybe it wasn't perfect, but it kept moving. It went from one scene to another, and it cut out all the extraneous stuff. It's good to recognize that stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. So for me, I know we shared this on Facebook Live last week. And, I'm writing some extra chapters for an agent who has asked for more, which is a very encouraging sign for me, and it's awesome. And I'm also probably by the end of March, going to be putting out my third epic fantasy novel. Got the cover being worked on, and we're doing this podcast. So man, I think I've bitten off a little bit more than I can chew, but it's been fun. It's been a fun ride.
Good. Yeah.
So yeah, and I've been reading a lot more. Which maybe we can do some reviews of in subsequent episodes. I've been trying to read a little bit more books and different books and different things. So it's been good. All right, so now as Evie is doing something interesting with Bill, she's giving him some moonshine and he's making a face.
Old smoky cherries.
It's cherry moonshine. I just took a whiff of this stuff and I'm
chocolate cherry.
Chocolate cherry. Wasn't that a song by Warrant? No, that was Cherry
good.
Pie. No, that was different. Yeah.
Oh, please don't.
And all right, so now we're gonna get to Evie. Evie is our author for this episode, and so we're gonna do a little interview with her. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Just first tell everybody who you are and just kind of a couple just details about yourself.
What makes you interesting?
I was about to say what makes me interesting. Oh, so many things. I'm Evie Porter. My full name is Evangeline Victoria. That's why I go by Evie. And what makes me interesting? I'm a missionary kid from Berlin. Also ADHD out the wazoo. And yet I love to write, which takes a lot of concentration. That's pretty much me.
My wife asked me recently, what is the wazoo? And I said, it's your butt. And she said, no, it's not. I said, Google it. If you don't believe me,
go ahead and Google that.
Google it. And she said, so when I say out the wazoo, I'm saying out the butt? And I'm like, yes. Yep. And she was like horrified.
Thanks. I think we just reached a new level. I'm not sure which way.
So the wazoo. And I think we need a character and call him Wazoo or her Wazoo. That needs to be next. So how long have you been writing? Seriously?
I've been seriously writing since I was in high school, when my teacher, who later became a very good friend of mine, forced me to write poems.
Held you down?
Held me
with a
down
gun and stuff?
No, she kept making class assignments. So I was like, I don't like to read. Why would I like to write? And I I'm bilingual, which means that you can speak two language and spell and read neither one of them.
Right.
So reading was always a problem, and so writing I didn't even bother. And then she would make it so much fun because we would read Dracula in a bathroom. We had it at school at our house. I was weird. I was homeschooled.
Wait, you were weird?
I was weird.
Not now, but you were then.
Well, that's debatable.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But yeah, we'd have homeschooling with a real teacher. And we would lock ourselves into the one room that didn't have any windows, which was a bathroom, with candle lights, reading Dracula, trying to freak each other out. And so,
That's a good setting.
That's good.
it
That's
was
cool.
But it started my love for reading, and then the idea of making these stories. All of a sudden, it just kind of sparked in me, and she just kept giving me writing assignment after writing assignment, and I just had a blast.
Yeah.
Very
So
nice.
high school.
Good.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
I said many times to my wife and some other people, I'm like, I'm reading her stuff, and this isn't even her original language. Like this isn't what she originally writes in. And I'm like, man, that is a talent right there, to be able to do multi-processing
It is.
in multiple languages and
It
write.
really
And
is.
Not only that, but Germans have better words. Sorry.
My wife, who is a German teacher, would agree with you, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Give me the German word for wazoo.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I can't say it without getting in trouble.
Wait, no one would know.
My Facebook friends would. Yeah.
All right, so last question.
Yep.
You're working on your first draft, and we told people that, working on your first draft. What keeps you motivated and keeps you from quitting? When there are those moments where you take a couple days off or whatever, you just get so busy because you got life, right? I mean, you got a husband, you got a kid, you got work, you got all this stuff going on, and we all do it, right? We get a couple days behind and we don't hit our goals or whatever happens, and it's easy to get discouraged. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you going?
I think, one, I've had this idea, this particular story for years and just never put on paper. And it's almost like it's going to haunt you until you write it down.
Yeah.
That's one. I've got a real supportive family. But more than anything, the story that I'm trying to write is meant to speak to women in a new level that allows the kind of the shame and the stigma that is wrapped around women, that we can't be women, that we need to be more like men or more like whatever, that we're too much and too little at the same time, as Stacey Eldridge says. This book is meant to set that free and to start kind of a movement. So that kind of motivates me a lot because that's a passion I have.
Good.
So
That's excellent. I love it. Okay, I actually lied. There is one last question. If you could do anything and get paid for it, what would it be?
I'd lock myself in a room with moonshine. And I just have piles of paper to write on. I love to write, and I have the same thought often.
Yeah.
When there's kids banging on the door going, hey! I'd just rather sit there and just write, because the whole world seems to fade away and you get to create your own world. So I love to write.
Funny, another funny sidebar. I often call Britt throughout the work week and say, hey, Britt, I'm really thinking about how we can get ourselves to this point of we're just writing
Yes.
and that's all we're doing.
Yes.
Let's talk about this next harebrained idea I have.
You ever have that picture in your head where you're like, if I could find a cabin in the woods in the middle of nowhere where no one could find me, I could just write and write and
Right,
write and write.
yep.
And nobody would know.
We actually have been talking a little something about that. Yeah, maybe we'll.
Yeah,
I'm in.
There's part of that idea coming, guys. Well, we're going to get into the story. So let's start with where we left off. All right. So a couple weeks ago, we had Walt, Troy's ankle that was broken and bones sticking out and all kind of gory stuff happening. Got healed somehow, and there was this implication that had something to do with the additive and the fumes from that. And they had this interesting little kind of side adventure into Carl Jr.'s place, where they called the sister and tried to kind of figure that out. And you guys voted, like we gave you some choices what was going to happen, and you guys voted that the next kind of part would be that the army and the police or whatever had quarantined the area. They had somehow figured out that there was something weird going on, and they decided to like quarantine the area. With I think we'll do guns. We're not going to put just walkie-talkies in there. And so
it's the original.
Yes, right. Han Solo shot first. Okay, we all know this.
It's true.
There's no other option. So that's where we are, and that's what we gave Evie. You gave Evie. Actually, I didn't do it. You did it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and so that's what you guys gave Evie, and we're gonna go ahead and get into the meat of the story. Let's do it.
Boneyard, Episode 4. Army trucks? I whispered to myself. I felt a hand fall on my shoulder. Whipping around with my fist drawn, I found Walt cringing back with his hands over his head. Damn it, Walt! I hissed, turning back to the rushing traffic of the trucks. Man, Deb, how'd they get here so fast? Probably around with those riots going on in Montgomery. Not a pretty scene from what I've read. Guess I ain't the only bookbuster around here, Walt said, with a smile meant to charm. I shushed him and yanked him along as I crawled over to where I thought Troy took cover. Troy, I said in a hushed tone, hoping the rumbling of the trucks would cover my voice. A policeman stood leaning up against his car only a few yards away. Troy! I called out a little louder. The officer whirled around, scanning the thicket. Walt and I sank down. The officer, rubbing his head all confused like, turned his attention back to his duties. Suddenly, a body flopped down next to me. We got to bug out. The sight of Troy, in seemingly one piece, was a relief. We should bag that police car. Troy and his ridiculous ideas. It's because of his lack of common sense that we are even in this mess. No, Troy, we ain't bagging no police car with all them heat around. He huffed. I crawled along the edge of the woods, away from kraals that lay a half-mile back, the other two close behind. At the end of the woods were 3 police, blocking the roads. Oncoming traffic were forced to turn right. Cars rolled past us, slow as molasses. The drivers craned their necks to see what was going on. Walt ripped his glasses off and threw them in the dirt. There, 4th car. That's Mary Jane's car. I stared at his glasses in the dirt, tired and confused. This day was a mess and a half. I shook my head clear. She'll be coming right past us. Now! I yelled. We all leaped out of the woods and into Mary Jane's 1957 Chevy Bel Air. Thank God the top was down. Hey! She yelled. You're getting my seats all dirty. Cars behind her honked. All eyes fell on us. One officer shouted out, Stop! Look, you're getting me in trouble. Book it, Mary Jane, I yelled. No! I stomped my foot on hers, punching the gas as hard as I could while grabbing the wheel with my left. We whipped wildly around the Dodge in front of us. Get your foot off the gas! Sirens were ringing out behind us. I didn't dare look back. The car swerved around the corner. We reached our neck of the woods. I know this town like the back of my hands. Spent many summers wandering these streets. Staying home wasn't always an option with Daddy drinking and all. He means well. Just gets out of hand sometimes. It didn't take much longer to shake them. The police don't like hanging around here, especially not alone. Mary Jane yanked the wheel from me and pulled us into an old dilapidated gas station. I'm going to Rodney's, she said, as the car crunched over the gravel. She put the car in park, got out, and walked away. Walt rolled his eyes. Her boyfriend. I reciprocated an eye roll. Then shouted after her, Hey, the police could still be out there. We can't stay out here in the open like this. Oh, I can, and I will, she said, rounding on me. You take that hell wagon and get out of here. Don't you bring my car back till them police ain't after it no more. You hear? She gave us a nasty look. One scratch, Walt, and you'll wish the police got you. Right, Walt shuddered. Troy stood up in his seat, ready to jump behind the wheel. Oh, hell no, I snarled, sliding from the passenger side into the driver's seat. The rest of the ride was silent. That was until we pulled into our driveway. Where the hell have you been? Daddy hollered, marching down the front steps. And what the hell is that? Definitely referring to the powder blue Chevy. Them is on the tube talking about a quarantine going on in town. And my 2 kids ain't in the garage where I left them. What you got to say? We all got out of the car and stood there with nothing to say. How could we even begin to explain? Y'all want to be adults? Tend to your own problems? Fine. Y'all can stay out here and figure it out, 'cause you sure as hell ain't acting like that under my roof. Daddy turned on his heels and marched off, slamming the door behind him. Through the window, we saw Daddy taking a big gulp of whiskey. It made us all feel like dirt, knowing we drove his worry to drinking. Let's get the car put up in the garage. We tucked the car securely out of sight, then collapsed in a heap. After a moment of silence, I looked over to Walt. Say, Walt, why'd you throw your glasses away in the wood? Don't need 'em no more. I sat up. What do you mean? I mean, I couldn't see nothing with them on. Suddenly my eyes were working fine, like 20/20. Speaking of strange things, how's your leg, Troy? Not even a scratch, he said, lifting his pant leg. Cuts on your face are gone too, I pointed out. Man, all that hype made me feel so alive, like lightning running through my veins. Yeah, me too. What if it ain't the hype of the night, said Troy. What if it's the power juice? It healed me. It fixed Walt's eyes. Yeah, said Walt. Like a life-giving force that gives you strength and health. Seems like it gives life to everything. It gave new life to them old burnout tubes on the car radio and gave energy to the car before you wrecked it, I glared at Troy. That stuff is pure gold. It could change everything. We should go back and get the rest from the boneyard before the feds get it. I had the same thought. How good of a thought could it be if Troy had it too? We can't risk taking the car out again. We'd have to walk the mile to the boneyard. But for this feeling, it just might be worth it. All right, let's go. Let's go get the rest of the stones. Yes! Troy shouted triumphantly. It made me more nervous. No idea of his had ever worked. We set out into the night. Made it half a mile past the butcher and old man Jeffrey's house before we had to duck into the shadows. Police cars were parked on every corner, military personnel snooping around with large hissing devices in their hands. Was this really worth it? A police car rounded the corner. No time to think it through. Quick, let's go. We darted from shadow to shadow. Last half a mile took longer, having to slip by unnoticed. The closer we got to the boneyard, the more heat we ran into. I overheard a group of uniformed men talking about how far out to quarantine the area. Not sure what would happen if we got caught. Would that be a federal offense? Would we go to prison for the rest of our days? Or maybe they'd just make us disappear. Hardly anyone would notice 3 black kids gone missing. Finally, the boneyard. Troy pried the old chain-link fence apart, and we all slipped through. We ran to the far side of the boneyard and began tossing junk away from where we thought the trapdoor was. A loud clang of glass rang out behind us. Busted, I thought. We turned, expecting armed men. Hey, ain't you the girl from the bar? Came the long, drawn-out voice of a drunk man. Yeah, you the one. Carl Jr., what are you doing here? He tried to take a step towards us, but stumbled to the ground. A jar of moonshine slipped out of his coat and rolled to our feet. Shh, he said with a finger over his lips. Don't go telling them police. Them kicked me out of my daddy's bar. Damn, Carl Jr., you got a still around here? He gave a goofy grin. I found the trapdoor, said Troy, shifting a metal plate to reveal the hatch. Walt helped him wrench the heavy door open. What should we do with Carl Jr.? He's making a racket. As I said that, new voices rang out, along with the weird hissing sound from them devices. A bright beam of light shot to our right. I thought I heard somebody. The meter's picking up something. The men were closing in on us. My pulse quickened. I stood paralyzed. What should we do?
That's the story, episode 4. Good job, Evie.
Thank you.
All right, now you got some choices for us, right?
I do. Choice number 1. They get in the bunker in time, leaving Carl Jr. to take the fall. Choice 2 is they get caught and the bunker is discovered.
All right, so those are the first 2 choices. Now we're gonna have to come up with a third one.
Yep.
What do you think, guys?
Well, let's see. So they're in the boneyard. They just uncovered the hatch.
Right, with drunk Carl
Yeah,
Jr.
with
hanging
drunk Carl
around.
Jr.
Could they get in there and the stones do something?
I'm thinking that if
Maybe.
Carl Jr., if they leave Carl, look, let's be realistic. I mean, if you leave Carl Jr. out there,
He's gonna
there's
give
no
them
telling
away.
you what he's gonna do because he's drunk.
Yeah, he's got
I
a
mean-
still nearby too. So maybe I'll go to the
and
still
the feds are
instead.
around. So we got to do something with Carl here, or the feds are going to do something with Carl. Somebody's going to do something with him.
Wait. Okay, so time out. So we kind of did have an idea about a third choice. Didn't you put something in your episode about how she mixed it with alcohol, or there's an alcohol base?
Right, yeah.
And he's super drunk.
Yeah.
What if there's some sort of reaction? Like if they get him in the
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 bunker.
third choice is they get him in the bunker and there's some sort of reaction that
and he
happens.
like super absorbs or
Something.
something.
What do you
Okay.
think?
Throws up on one.
Okay, let's.
So keep it
let's
simple.
just say, let's keep it simple. Okay, Carl's out there. He could give them away. They drag him into the bunker with. How about that?
Okay.
They grab him.
Yeah, I
whether
guess
whether he's conscious
the
or
three of
not, who knows? I mean, he just fell down. He might be unconscious now.
3 of them could probably manhandle him into.
They're feeling pretty good today.
Well, there,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
there-
true.
and they have the super
there's
strength.
that going for them.
All right, so those are the 3 choices. So the
Okay.
3 choices are going to be they get in the bunker in time, and Carl is left out there to his own devices and whatever.
Hopefully, take the fall.
whatever conflict happens out there between Carl and the quarantine peeps. And then number 2 is they get caught, and somehow by the quarantine guys. And number 3 is they get into the bunker and they drag Carl Jr. in there with them.
And here's a reminder: getting caught. And I'm not pushing this option. I'm just saying getting caught is not a horrible option. It doesn't end the story necessarily. Getting caught, it puts them in a place where they can learn things.
It puts Britt in a place where he has to be real
Right.
creative.
Ooh, yeah. Because Britt is the next writer.
Booyah.
So
It's going to be awesome.
Right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 choices. Well, I think that's it for this week, man.
Yeah, I think we
I
can sign ourselves out.
I think we can sign ourselves out. All right, so we're gonna raise a drink to inspiration. Evie, great job. It was a great job.
Great job.
Enjoyed it.
We saved you for 4th. I don't know why, but you did it.
It's called Best for Last.
Best for last.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
I'm thankful.
Those who are last will be first, and first
There you go.
something, all that.
Man, you really got a good spot.
So it was a great episode. So we're gonna raise a drink to inspiration, and you guys listen and vote, share the podcast, share the Facebook page, vote,
Instagram.
and get on there and just and get involved. We want to hear from you. That's the whole point of this. We want to hear from you guys, and get some of you have been giving us some input, and we really appreciate it about the length of the show and the stuff you like and the stuff you don't like. We really appreciate it. God bless, and everybody have a good week.
See you next
Yeah.
time.
sign on.
Boneyard, episode 4. You want that or you want a better one? It was not the moonshine, I promise. This
I
is
want
one
all of
the
it.
liquids.
I want all of it.
They drag him into the bunker with them. The bumper?
The
They drag
bunker.
him into the bumper?
Yeah.
This is
Take
the
him in the
moonshine
bumper.
talking, baby.
Through the window. Obviously, I sing when I'm nervous. All right.
Is Andrew Lloyd Webber version? All of a sudden.
Yes. I need dancing. All right. Now I gotta get that picture out of my head with y'all dancing across here. Sorry.
This is great outtake stuff.
Sorry. Okay.